After reading that, I read this manga called The Seventh Time Loop. The villainess enjoys a carefree life married to her worst enemy, which I felt was a really long title, but it's okay. I read this because in the same time, this is all in the same time frame of like me, like the week after I finished student teaching in the classroom, but like that was the week that I had to finalize all of my last assignments and do everything and send it to my advisor, and she was giving me notes back and forth, and she had a lot of notes, which meant that I was making a lot of revisions, which meant that I was losing my mind, actively losing my mind, and I'm not even kidding. I was so unwell. But anyways, I started to watch the manga based off of, I started to watch the anime based off of this manga at night. Like, I would literally work until like 2 in the morning, and then I would watch episodes of this manga to like calm down so that I could sleep, because even though I was so exhausted, my mind was like not, my mind was like doing mental gymnastics and cartwheels and flips, and I really liked it, but it's not finished. The anime is not finished, so I was like, oh, let me read the manga and see if it's different, and then I can like read more and get more of the story. But so far I've only read the first one because even the manga is not finished yet. So yeah, I like it. Want to know how the story ends. I would recommend it. I would even recommend the anime. I think he's so cute, although we need to figure out more about him. But I do think he's cute, but I want to know more. I want to know more about him before I say that he's like awesome. But he's cute. He is cute. And I love Rishi. She's awesome. She's the best. And his little brother is really funny. I would rate that like a 3.5 to 4 stars. Moving on. Oh wait, I didn't even say. The premise of Seventh Time Loop is basically that she keeps coming back to life. She has her first life in which her engagement to the prince is broken off, and then she is like banished from their kingdom, and so she's like, okay, fine, I'll go. And she does, and so she lives her life as a merchant, and then she dies, and then she comes back, and so it happens all over again, where she like wakes up again in her engagement being broken off, and so she leaves again, and it keeps happening again and again. In every life she does something different, and she learns and grows, and she just has all these experiences, and now she's come back for the 7th time, and she's like, you know what, I always die for the same reason, and this time around I'm going to eliminate that reason. I'm going to live my life past the time that I keep passing away. And so it's her trying to do that. And next, I read 13 volumes of a manga that I do not physically have and will not say the name of, because it is so unhinged that I just can't. I won't even tell Natalie. Like, Natalie wanted to know, and she actually has an unhinged manga that she read that she won't tell me the name of. We're just like not telling each other the names of these books because they're so unhinged, and we are too embarrassed to be like, yeah, this was it. But basically, like I said, this was a bad time for me. This was not a good time for me. I cannot stress that enough. And there's this person that I am like acquaintances with, and we like used to go to school together, and he had recommended me a manga like at this point a year and a half ago, maybe 2, like a year and a half ago. A little more than a year and a half ago, a year and a half to 2 years ago. And it was, I mean, I think this one takes the cake probably, but at that point it was the craziest thing I had read. It was like the darkest thing that I had read, but it had a fantasy element to it, and the only reason that I read it for as long as I did, because eventually I did have to stop because I was like, whoa, like this is a lot. It was good though. Is it was so unpredictable. Like I said, like with You Have My Heart, I could predict everything, and I think I tend to stay within the same couple genres, and nothing is really truly original anymore. I was talking to Shelby about this yesterday. Everything has been done before. So when you read as much as I do, and you read so much of the same types of tropes, it becomes, I mean, with a few rare exceptions where you just totally have a plot twist you don't see coming, it becomes pretty easy to tell what is coming and like when it's coming. And what I really liked about the manga, the first manga that he had recommended me, was that I was always shocked. I was like, I was never expecting this. Like, I would have never known it was happening, and I was always caught out of left field, and I thought it was really good in that regard, although it was really dark and it was a lot, which is why I had to stop. I really did like never knowing exactly what was going to happen because it was a change of pace. When I graduated and I had all this time and I was dealing with all these really intense graduation feelings that I feel like a lot of people go through, of feeling excited but a little scared and apprehensive and trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, and there was this added sadness of graduating and mom not being here, and so it was just a lot that I was coming to terms with all at once and really trying to reconcile with. And so I reached out to him and I was like, hey, this is so random, like so sorry to just message you out of the blue, but would you mind recommending me another like manga like the first one, which I'm also not gonna say the name of because they're both unhinged and I don't want that out there. But I was like, could you recommend me one that is as unpredictable as insert manga here? And he was like, yeah, and he recommended me the manga that I read, the second one, and he was like, but it's really dark. And I was like, yeah, if you're telling me that, I know, because after he recommended me the first one, I thought, are you all red in the head? Like, this is really great, but like it's a lot. So I started to like question him a little bit after that, and so when he was like, it's dark though, I was like, oh great, if he's saying that, that means it's like really crazy. But I think honestly I preferred the first one because there was a fantasy component to it. I could justify the darkness a little bit more because I feel like in fantasy worlds there's just, in a fantasy world it's a lot easier to imagine violence and stuff, like it's a little bit less scary because it feels less real. This one takes place in our world and a lot of really messed up stuff happens, and it was really scary because I was like, oh my lord, like oh my lord. And it's really sad, and there are a plethora of trigger warnings. Pretty much every trigger warning you could ever think of would need to be like put on this book. It is so like, it's graphic, it's sad, it's dark, I honestly would not recommend anybody to read it. Like, I'm so sorry. It is written well, and he did tell me, and we had talked about it a little bit after I started reading it, and he was like, oh my god, and we were talking, he was like, but isn't it written so well? And I was like, honestly, yeah, like there's parallels and the way that the author draws back to certain things, and the drawing is, you know, but and everything is like symbolism, and everything has its own meaning. And I was really confused, but not in a way that I enjoyed. I was like confused and like frustrated and upset, and I felt really no truly good character. A lot of the characters are like not great people with not great motives, and so it was a hard read, but I did make it till the end just because I wanted to see how it was going to end. I was hoping honestly for an ending where a lot of the characters had repercussions, and that just wasn't the case, which was unfortunate. I was hoping for an ending in which I felt satisfied, and for me that would have been everybody getting what they deserved. Yeah. Even though I'm not going to say the name of it, I did binge read 13 volumes of the manga in 3 days, and so I felt like it was worth the mention. I was definitely disturbed by it, and I would give it like 1 star. I would give it 0 stars. I mean, the writing, technically the author wrote it well, it's just the content and everything, I would have to give it like no. Also, if the person, you're not ever gonna see this video, but if the person who sees this video and Issa, actually, let me not say that. If the person who recommended this manga to me ever sees this video, dude, yeah, I honestly, and I told him straight up, I was like, I worry about you, like, these recommendations you've given me, because I honestly will take, and I've talked about this with Issa before, like I've talked about this with a lot of my friends before, I see like the books a person reads as like a little bit of a window into who they are and like what they like and everything. And so I definitely told him, I was like, I'm a little concerned about you because these are the series that you recommended me, and they're both unhinged and dark and like super duper like crazy, and so are you okay? And yeah, so also he's not somebody I'm super close with, which sucks, only because I don't know anybody else who's read this, and I'm not going to inquire. Like I refuse to admit to anybody that I have read these, like, by telling them the name. So I can't talk about it with my friends, I can't talk about it with you guys, and he is the only person to my knowledge that's read it. You know, like, I can't ask somebody if they've read it without admitting that it's the one that I've read. So I wish that I could, like, text him and be like, oh my god, and, like, because I'll have, like, thoughts about it. And even, like, when I was finishing it, I did talk about it with him a little bit, but there was, like, so many more thoughts. I could have talked about it for so much longer, but I was like, I'm not gonna bother this kid. Like, I'm not just gonna annoy him about all my thoughts, feelings, and opinions. But yeah, it was definitely, it was something. It was something. All right, moving past those 13 volumes, I read, after that, you're gonna see the jump, the tonal switch. It's crazy, because I was like, no, I can't. So after that, I read this book called Straight Expectations that I got at Barnes & Noble. And this is, like, I remember the day that I got this because it was me and Naomi and Oliver, we were hanging out, and we went to Barnes & Noble, and I had all these books, and I was feral. It was my first, because I got this book back in January, and it was my first time going to Barnes & Noble's in the new year, and I was like feral. I was like running around, and I had all these books, and like Oliver and Naomi were chasing after me being like, please stop, please put the books down.
My dad's books.
And I was like, no, and I was running around, and at a certain point I had so many books in my hands that I was like, hey Oliver, put your hands out, and he did. And I put all the books in his arms, and this one was on top, and I was like, oh my god, when you walk around, people are going to think that this is your book pile. And he thought it was so funny, and actually a man did come up to us and say, like, low-key threaten us, and we thought he was being like homophobic because we're pretty sure that he thought that Oliver might have been gay. And he did scare us a little bit. And I actually have a video of it, low-key, but I don't know if I should put that in here. So yes, this book, Straight Expectations, I saw it and I was like, yeah, I want to know what this is about. I believe it was also like 50% off. It was like half off, so I was like, yeah, might as well. It was YA though, and I feel like I've said this before with YA that I find it hard to put myself back into high school, and sometimes I am just like cringing because it's like, oh, these high school characters that are just so much younger. A lot of the characters are within the LGBTQIA+ community, and so you've got the main character who is gay, and he is, you know, knows he's gay and he's out, but he lives in this small town where the only other person who is openly out is his best friend, and it's not that kind of romance. He does have a crush, and he is trying to navigate that, and he at times is a little bit like, at times, I don't want to say selfish, at times he just, I think, does something that a lot of people, especially teenagers, do, and he is a little too involved and not necessarily thinking about how other people are feeling or how they're affected by certain things. And I think that he learns a lot of lessons, and I think it's a good book to read. I definitely want my child to read this just to get different perspectives and see that, like, other people are going through things. I think I gave this book 3.5 to 4 stars as well, just because of the high school thing, but I did really like that it covers things like the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and to be true to yourself, and to also not take other people's problems or life experiences for granted, or to not overlook them, I should say. I don't know how to word that properly. The main character's name is Max, and I just think that in the book and this is, you know, a lesson he learns throughout the book, is that he didn't necessarily consider other people's problems as much, and he was a little too in his head about his own problems. And obviously as human beings we worry about ourselves and our lives and stuff, but I think that a big part of human experience is having people you love and care about, and I think that it's really important to put their problems, to think about their problems and put them into perspective as well. So yeah, that was Straight Expectations. Oy. Oh no, all the books toppled on the floor. Okay, so after Straight Expectations, I read Wildfire, another hockey romance. Oh my god, yeah. So this one is by Hannah Grace, and it is in the same universe as Icebreaker, which I read last year. Yeah, last year. I read Icebreaker last year. Icebreaker was an interesting one for me. I I had qualms with the book, but I did end up really liking it, and I think the reason I enjoyed it so much was because of the found family aspect of it. I really loved the friend group, and that was something that I really loved in this one too. This book, for some reason, and I don't know why, because both books have some heavy-ish topic, but for some reason this one felt heavier to me. I think possibly because it has stuff that I struggle with. Not that the first one didn't, but this one just felt so much more prevalent. But our main characters are Russ and Aurora, and they meet at a party held by the hockey team, with whom I love. That's where the friend group comes in, the hockey team, and you do see all the same characters from the first book. Well, like from the friend group, not the problematic one that I really didn't like in the first book. But you see Stassi and Nate and Robbie and just everybody. JJ. Love JJ, oh my god. And there's so many text threads throughout the book, like, that I just thought were so funny. I would be dying laughing. And oh my god, Henry, whom I love as well, and I hope Henry gets his own book. But yeah, so they meet at the party. They get to know each other biblically, and then she leaves, and he wanted like more, and she leaves because she's thinking he doesn't. And then they're like, oh, they're like thinking about each other, but like thinking that they'll never see each other again. And then they end up working at the same summer camp, so it's like forced proximity, it's a summer romance, they're working together. I thought it was cute. I liked the summer camp aspect of it because they mentioned like the kids and stuff, and I think that's really cute how they have how they build a relationship with the campers, and the campers are like teasing them, and they're like, we know you're dating, or we know you like her, like we see the way you look at her. And I just thought that was so funny because I've definitely had versions of that at work where the kids are like, and not even necessarily with me, but that the kids will see like the kids will see two adults and they'll be like, oh my god, are you guys dating? Are you guys like each other? Da, da, da. There is a spice factor in this book. Actually, I think it's the first book that I talk about where there's like a high spice factor. And oh, little fun fact, Aurora's dad works in F1 in this book. Like he's in the F1 world, and I was like, when I saw that, I was like F1, and a little F1 reference in here. Okay, we love to see it. We love to see it. Would I recommend Wildfire? Yes, I would, especially if you like a hockey romance. But also Rush is just such a nice, good, sweet, caring guy, and he's going through so much, and so is she. They're both going through it. They both got daddy issues. That's like a thing throughout the whole book is their daddy. Like I would say if I could do one overarching thing that we're working through in this book, it's daddy issues. But yeah, they're cute. I liked them. And then I read Every Summer After by Carly Fortune because it's a summer book. And I was like with Wildfire and with this one, I was kind of going for books that gave off summer vibes. So what would I rate this book? I think I gave it a 3.5 also, or like a 3 even. Rocky's barking because somebody rang the doorbell. Do I look super white because of this? I feel like that was a problem earlier where I just like super flushed out because there's white here. Okay, anyways, so Every Summer After, it takes place it's like a dual timeline, so you've got one chapter in the present and then one chapter in the past and then one chapter in the present, one chapter in the past. And our main character is Persephone, or Percy, and in the present we know that she is going back to the town where her family's old. Okay, so this book very much gives like Summer House by the Lake, as you can see. That's like literally they're jumping off like a dock, and it's like best friends to lovers to we're not talking and haven't talked in years to there's been a tragic event and now we've been brought back together and all these feelings are coming back, and what happened in the past? Why did we stop talking? Can we get back together again? And let me tell you something, I knew pretty early on why they stopped talking, and when it was confirmed that I was right, I was like, oh my god, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. But anyways, love Sam. He's super cute. Shh, Rocky. Rocky, shh. Willa's talking to somebody outside, Rocky. Yeah. Issa, I know you read this one. I think that you did not like it. We have to talk about this one. I think that I maybe would enjoyed it a little more than you, but I did not like some aspects of this book. ¿Qué pasó? Okay, but sometimes Willa gets visitors. I know. I know. That's just a nice old man, Rocky. He's not gonna do anything. I know. Rocky's like freaking out. You know, somebody rang the doorbell, and then when Willa was talking to one of her neighbors, like some kids ran by on bikes and stuff, and he just started losing it. But yeah, so Every Summer After, I would, yeah, 3.5. I really just disliked the conflict. I'm also remembering now that when I read, wait a second, I have to, I'm also remembering now that when I read this series and when I read the fourth one online, I found that this author had another series, another manga, and I read that one too online, but I don't remember the name or how many volumes. Probably also around 4. But just for the record, I did read more manga. This is really just to show you how mentally unwell I was, that like this is how much manga I was reading, like just for happiness, for like any kind of serotonin. That's it for April, May, June, and July. Woohoo! I have read another book since then, but I've read it in August, and so it doesn't count. But what I will say, a little sneak peek, a little teaser, the main character of the book that I read, his name is August. So isn't that fun? Isn't that cute? Isn't that great? I also read whatchamacallits. I also read a lot of AO3 in this time, and AO3 is really hard to like track in terms of like pay. I also read a lot of AO3 back in April, but I feel like that's really hard to track and like write down. Rocky. But you know, just to throw it out there to be noted. I didn't read a lot in any one particular month, but combined I had a lot of books from these 4 months. Don't be like this, Rocky. I do have plans to read, so I've already read, did I read a book before that one? I think I did read a book before that one. I think I've read something after Every Summer After and before the one that I just finished last night, but I can't remember what it was. So I'm gonna have to look at that. But I am going to finish the Hunger Games series this month. The Hunger Games series that I started literally last December. I want to finish Finale, and I want to, oh, I know what the book is. It's a book that I started reading that I had to stop reading because it got a little too real for me, and I'm doing a reading vlog off of that book. That's what it was. And then I needed something else, and so then I read the book with the main character whose name is August. Anyways, it is now, let's check our handy dandy phone, 8:11 p.m. and I haven't had dinner and I'm starting to get a headache. So I'm gonna go make some pasta and some steak and eat and watch YouTube or Netflix. I might watch Drive to Survive because I was talking about F1 and now I feel like I might want to watch Drive to Survive. Anywho, that's it for this book video. Shelby, Issa, call me. Let's talk about books. Bye.